Sit back and throw one back with your pinky in the air and a middle finger to the world, and join me, the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in pro wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get our wrestling history on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is June 24th, and we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right, these are your pro wrestling birthdays. 1963, the luchador known as Angel Azteca. 1969, hardcore legend Madman Pondo. 1978, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Adam Pearce. And last but not least, 1986, one of the four horsewomen, Jessamyn Duke. Of course, on the flip side of that coin, your pro wrestling deaths for June 24th. 2007, Biff Wellington and Chris Benoit. 2013, Jackie Fargo. Alright, enough of the sad stuff. It's time to get to the meat and potatoes. That's right, these are your pro wrestling history highlights for June 25th. Jumping in the Wayback Machine and going all the way to 1925, where we see Bobby Roscoe defeat Matty Matsuda in Columbus, Ohio for the World Welterweight title. Leaping 11 years to 1936, George McLeod defeats Frank Sexton to win the Ohio Heavyweight title in Columbus, Ohio. Jumping ahead 14 years to 1950, Buddy Rogers defeats Bozo Brown for the Jack Pfeffer promoted World Heavyweight title in Akron, Ohio, beginning his fifth reign. Moving ahead 8 years to 1958, Duke Kamuka and John Tolos defeat Larry Chain and Pepper Gomez to win the NWA Texas Tag Team titles in Dallas, Texas. Grooving into the 60s, 1964, Alan Colbeck defeats Jack Dempsey for the European Welterweight title in Bradford, England. This begins Colbeck's fifth reign and ended Dempsey's fifth. Also in 1964, Tokyo Tom defeats Joe Blanchard to win the NWA Texas Heavyweight title in Houston, Texas. Our last stop in the 60s, 1966, Luis Hernandez and Pedro Morales defeat Buddy Austin and El Mongol for the World Wrestling Association World Tag Team titles in Los Angeles, California. Grabbing my bell bottoms and making 3 stops in 1972. First, the NWA Big Time Wrestling held Parade of Champions with a main event of NWA World Heavyweight Champion Dory Funk Jr. fighting Fritz Von Erich to a 60-minute time limit draw. Our second stop in 1972, Abdul the Butcher defeats Ernie Ladd for the National Wrestling Federation Heavyweight title in Akron, Ohio. Our third and final stop in 1972, Boris Malenko and Johnny Walker defeat the professional Doug Gilbert and Mike Webster for the NWA Florida Tag Team titles in Jacksonville, Florida. Just 2 years later, in 1974, Jackie Fargo defeats Jerry Lawler for the NWA Southern Junior Heavyweight title in Memphis, Tennessee. Moving ahead to 1978, Roddy Piper defeats Moondog Mayne to win the San Francisco NWA United States Heavyweight title. Grabbing my boombox and making 2 stops in 1984. First, Wahoo McDaniel wins his 4th NWA United States Heavyweight title, ending Ricky Steamboat's 3rd reign in Greensboro, North Carolina. Our second stop in 1984 sees Connect win his 5th UWA World Heavyweight title from Dos Casas in Mexico City, Mexico. 1985, Chris Adams and Gino Hernandez defeat the Fantastics Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers in Fort Worth, Texas to win the NWA America's Tag Team titles. Making 2 stops in 1988, Johnny Smith defeats Chris Benoit to win the Stampede British Commonwealth Mid-Heavyweight title in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Our second stop in 1988 sees Shiro defeat Owen Hart to win the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title in Osaka, Japan, beginning his 3rd reign. Grabbing my flannel and going to the decade of grunge. 1993, Smoky Mountain Wrestling held the King of Kentucky tournament. In the tournament final, Brian Lee defeated Smoky Mountain Wrestling heavyweight champion Tracy Smothers to win the King of Kentucky tournament. Moving ahead 1 year to 1994, ECW held the first of 6 annual Hostile City Showdown events at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The main event saw Sabu with Paul E. Dangerously and 911 defeat Cactus Jack after Paul E. hit Cactus with his cell phone. And last but not least, 1995, the Fabulous Moolah, the Grand Wizard, Ernie Ladd, Pedro Morales, Ivan Putski, Antonio Roca, and George Steele are inducted into the WWF Hall of Fame in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Those were your short but sweet pro wrestling history highlights for June 25th. I'm the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, and we'll see you tomorrow.